In a really high-stakes engineering meeting, the person who actually controls the room, it isn't usually the one with the most data.
Right.
It's the person who knows exactly how to, well, kind of weaponize their vocabulary.
Which, I mean, that sounds a bit cynical, but in a crisis, how you frame a problem really determines whether you get the time you need or, get shown the door.
Exactly. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are dissecting this really fascinating presentation deck focused specifically on high-stakes technical communication.
It's a great deck.
Yeah, and the mission for you, our listener, is that we are decoding 5 essential English idioms from this deck. Things that will help you navigate corporate chaos, manage expectations, and project absolute authority when things inevitably go off the rails.
Because the vocabulary you use it's essentially the interface between raw engineering data and human psychology.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with the onset of any major new project, which is, well, just feeling completely overwhelmed. The deck highlights the phrase, drink from a fire hose.
Right, using the example of trying to learn entirely new engineering specs in a single week.
Yeah, but physically drinking water isn't really the point here. Is it basically the corporate equivalent of, I don't know, trying to catch a raging waterfall in a tiny teacup?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It perfectly describes an academic or system overload where the sheer velocity of information just overwhelms your processing power.
Wow, yeah.
And, when your processing freezes, the whole environment destabilizes. Which smoothly brings us to the second phrase, being in a state of flux.
Right, because information is just blasting at you like a fire hose.
Exactly. The environment is inherently unstable. The source mentions delaying final CAD drawings because the project requirements just keep changing.
You're paralyzed because the foundation isn't locked in.
Right. You just can't make definitive commitments when the ground keeps shifting. You are operating in an environment that is structurally unstable.
So you are stuck in this constant flux. How do you actually take back control of a meeting like that? This brings us to a phrase I have a bit of a bone to pick with.
Oh, really? Which one?
Circle back. The deck calls it this ultimate tactical maneuver to elegantly pause an unresolved discussion. Their example is pausing a discussion until Thursday, because the torque test results aren't in yet. But I mean, isn't saying, let's circle back just a polite cop-out? Aren't you just admitting you failed to prepare?
Well, what's fascinating here is that it absolutely sounds like an evasion at first.
Right.
But strategically, it's the exact opposite. You're refusing to make a decision in an information vacuum. By saying circle back, you aren't avoiding the problem. You are actively managing the timeline and setting the precise conditions for the next engagement. It projects total authority over the process.
Okay, I get that. You're halting the chaos until you have the advantage. And once you do circle back and get the green light, the pacing changes completely.
It really does.
That's where we hit pull out all the stops. Now, literally, this means pulling all the knobs on a pipe organ to play at maximum volume. But here it means committing 100% of your resources.
Yes. The source gives the example of ensuring a new reducer model is ready for an upcoming trade show. When you pull out all the stops, it signals to stakeholders that standard constraints are suspended. You're authorizing the team to burn resources to hit an immovable target.
Okay, but what if you've paused the chaos? You pulled out all the stops and, well, things still completely implode.
It happens.
Is there an actual strategic way to describe a catastrophic failure to your boss so that it sounds like a victory?
There is, and it's our final phrase. Land on one's feet. Think of the literal metaphor of a falling cat righting itself in midair.
Okay, so the drop still happens.
Exactly. The source shares this great example of a team whose initial prototype failed entirely, but they successfully secured a new round of funding anyway.
Wait, really? How?
Because landing on your feet strategically redirects the attention. You don't hide the fact that the prototype exploded. You force the room to look at the landing. The explosion proved a secondary hypothesis, which is exactly why the investors gave them more money. You survived the drop and controlled the perception of the aftermath.
So you completely reframe the narrative.
Right.
Well, let's summarize the journey we've taken you on today. Surviving the fire hose, navigating the flux, circling back to control the timeline, pulling out all the stops to execute, and always landing on your feet.
It's not just empty jargon. It's a deliberate toolkit for maintaining leverage.
It is. But it leaves you with a slightly dark thought. If our everyday professional language is so deeply rooted in metaphors of surviving physical extremes, like blasting fire hoses and falling from great heights, What does that actually reveal about the underlying psychological stress of the modern workplace?
That's a heavy question.
Definitely something for you to mull over the next time you step into the boardroom.